The Soul Redeemer, Book 3, Chapter 29, Refuge. Jake didn't normally have dreams, and if he did, he didn't usually remember them. But he had dreamed a whopper of a dream this night, and he remembered every single detail of it. He couldn't shake the emotions that accompanied it, so he got out of bed in the small upstairs apartment at the inn and went into the great room to stand in front of the large windows overlooking the town. He would have liked to go outside on the balcony, but it was no longer safe to be out at night unless the Lord specifically ordered it. Jake's heart raced as he retraced the dream in his mind. He and Nicole were taking turns carrying a small child in their arms while they were traveling on foot, trying to get back to Samaria. The city looked like it was either a third world country or it was war-torn. There was a famine, and they had no food and carried no supplies. But when they needed food or water, someone, maybe an angel, would direct them to a door where they knocked on it, it would be opened, and they would be fed. Then they would resume their perilous journey. Perilous because they were being hunted. Perilous because there were ravenous beasts. Perilous because without being covered under the blood of Jesus, AI would see them and eliminate them without question. And yet, the little ones were depending on them, trusting in them, and so they kept on moving, trusting in the Lord for everything. Nicole woke and noticed that Jake was gone. She got up and found him standing in front of the window in the great room, shivering. "You're cold," she said as she retrieved a blanket from the couch and wrapped it around his shoulders. "It's an inside cold," he said as he pulled her closer to him, drawing her into the warmth and comfort of the blanket. They stood silently watching the darkness. Even the stars that Jake used to take such delight in seemed to be affected by the spiritual darkness that had come upon the earth. Finally he said, "I had a dream, but I don't think it is only a dream. I think it's our calling. Isaiah 46 says, 'God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge.'" He paused, then said, "God is our refuge. We are to be a refuge for others and bring them into the refuge that the Lord has prepared here in Samaria for them." Then Jake turned to his wife. "Nicole, we are going after the children." Jake and Nicole had not gone back to bed. It was still fairly early in the morning, and they were fixing breakfast in the kitchen when the ringer alerted them that the front door of the inn had opened. Nicole called out, "Come on in, we'll be right with you." Jake sat a cereal bowl down and went to see who had come. Nicole couldn't hear the words being said, but she understood the excited, happy voices, and she hurried out to the front. She stopped dead in her tracks as she recognized her dear friends, Robert and Risa. Finding her feet again, she ran to them, hugging them, and even though they weren't really comfortable with displays of emotion, they returned her affection with light pats on her back. "What are you doing here?" Nicole asked as she stepped back and looked them over as if trying to convince herself that she wasn't dreaming. "Oh, but you must be tired and hungry. Come in and sit. I'll get you something to eat." Risa smiled. "Nicole, you forget that we do not require as much sustenance as you do. However, it is true that at this moment we could use some food and water." As they headed for the dining room, Robert said, "Yes, it was a long journey on foot." Jake grabbed Robert's elbow, stopping him. "You mean that you walked here?" "Yes, we walked and ran over the mountains, avoiding roads and civilization." Robert and Risa sat down, but Jake and Nicole just stood there trying to comprehend their journey and this turn of events. Suddenly Nicole laughed. "Well, I guess if I did it, you certainly could too." They all laughed at the memory of Nicole and Maria walking all night as they fled from the kidnappers and then supernaturally arrived in Jackson Hole in the morning where Sam found them. Jake said, "Yeah, but you were transported at least in part. They walked the whole way on their own." He looked at Robert for confirmation. "That is correct, but God was with us," Robert replied. After breakfast, Risa suggested that they call Sam and Joel. Nicole dialed out on the landline, and Sam answered. Hey, I'll put you on speaker. Megan's voice said, Hey, sis, are you doing okay? Great. You'll never guess who just walked in our front door. Joel answered, Wonderful. They will explain their mission to you. The Lord be with you. The phone went dead before they could respond. Nicole looked worried. Did Joel do that, or were we cut off? Robert said, It could be either. However, that response fits Joel's modus operandi. That's very true, she said. Jake asked, So what is your mission? To help you, Risa answered. What do you mean? God told us that we were to come and help you with your mission, Robert said. So we want to ask what your mission is. Jake and Nicole glanced at each other. Nicole asked, For real? Wow, how cool is that? God just told us what our mission is this very morning, and before we even knew we had one, He sent you here to help us. That's just incredible. Jake just shook his head. I guess that means we are really going to do this. Risa said, Please tell us what you know about this mission so that we can help you. Yes, of course, Risa, Jake said. We are going after the children. We don't know who the children are or where they are. We don't know any more than that. However, I'll tell you the dream I had, and maybe that'll give us some idea. After Jake relayed the dream, Robert said, We are to be your bodyguards. You will be going into the middle of the enemy's camp, and with our abilities, Risa and I will be able to help you safely find your way, to find shelter, and to watch over you when you are sleeping, among the other things that we cannot conceive of at this moment. Risa said, Now we know why we were saved. She wiped a tear from the corner of her eye and looked at the tiny drop on her fingers as if not sure what to make of it. I have never shed a tear before. She put it to her lips and tasted the salt. Nicole reached over and gently touched Risa's arm. In His grace, God allowed you and Robert to be created for a special purpose for such a time as this. He saved you because He loved you, and once you chose Him, He rejoiced because He knew that we would need special help to maneuver through this dark world and to fulfill this mission, and that the part He had prepared for you was something that only you could do. And we are honored to accept your help, Jake agreed. The four of them bowed their heads. Jake acknowledged Jehovah as their refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble, and in the mission He had prepared for them. He thanked the Lord for sending confirmation and helpers, and then he prayed for guidance. Your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path, Robert said as he recited Psalm 119:105. Yes, light, Nicole exclaimed, and then she quoted John 8:12 and Ephesians 5:8. Then Jesus spoke to them again, saying, I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. For you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Walk as children of light. Great reminders of the truth, Jake said. Let's let Robert and Risa get some rest, so that when we get our next set of orders, we will be ready to respond.